Let's cultivate our motivation. So if we act with integrity and consideration for others, thereby refraining from destructive actions, then our heart can be very open because we have nothing to hide. There's nothing that we wish to cover up or prevent others from knowing in our lives. So this releases any kind of burden on our hearts. And it also means we have no reason to lie. So that frees us from all the complications of lying and having to remember what you said to who, and having to figure out what to say when the people realize that you told them something that wasn't true. So keeping our integrity, our values, our principles, and acting according to them, and refraining from destructive actions is really a type of freedom in and of itself. And we can see this by observing the lives, public figures, and as our friends who don't have that and what they go through, the turmoil in their lives. Also, if we want to really benefit others, in addition to having compassion for them and love for them, we need to be a person that they can trust. And so there too, ethical conduct is very important. If others can't trust us, then very little we can do to benefit them. And also, to develop compassion, we have to stop harming others first. Yeah, very difficult to develop compassion if our mind is very often falls prey to the wish to harm others or deceive them. Then with that compassionate mind, we can generate bodhicitta. And with bodhicitta, we have the strong impetus to understand the nature of reality and to generate deep concentration so that we can purify our mind and attain full awakening. So all these different steps on the path, all the various qualities that we have to develop by doing different practices are all interrelated and they all support and help each other. So with the determination, the joyous determination to create the causes for full awakening, let's engage in all these practices. And to engage in them, we have to learn about them first. And so that's what we're doing now. So that motivation is in many ways a lead-in into the next chapter where we learn about setting up a meditation practice. But we still have a little bit more in the present chapter to finish. When you have a good relationship with your spiritual mentor, you feel very supported in your practice. And even you're not near your teacher, you feel supported. And when you have difficulties, then what I do, I have this little practice of doing a 911 to my teacher, okay, or a 911 to the Buddha. And, kind of in my meditation outlining my problem. And then when you've heard a lot of teachings, and this is the benefit of really hearing many, many teachings, is when you, in your meditation, kind of explain your problem to the Buddha, to your spiritual mentor, then you remember something that your spiritual mentor told you. You remember some teaching that you heard that the Buddha gave. And then you know what to do in that situation. In other words, how to train your mind, how to help your mind see the situation in a constructive way so that you can act constructively. Okay. So I remember doing that one time. Where was I? I was in North Carolina. And I forget the problem. You know how when you have a problem, it seems insurmountable, but later you can't even remember what it was? So this was one of those, which most of my problems are. And as I was troubled by something, I can't remember what, but I was very troubled. And I did this kind of 911 in my mind. And I was hearing Lama Yeshe say, because he had these little pith instructions, and he would say, keep it simple, dear. And there's a lot of meaning in keep it simple, dear. I mean, he called everybody dear, but keep it simple. Don't let your mind go round and around in circles, ruminating about something, making up stories, worrying, getting anxious, getting afraid, trying to figure out what decision to make, but you can't make that one because you'll miss out on this. But if you make that decision, you'll miss out on that. So you don't know what to do, so you sit there going round and around in turmoil and anxiety, trying to eke out the most pleasure from something, and you can't decide it, what it is. Or somebody's really disturbing your mind, and you want to go clobber them, but you've heard so many teachings about the disadvantages of anger that you can't do that. But inside it's like, oh, and your mind is spinning, 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 And then you just hear Lama say, keep it simple, dear. Like, okay, drop all of that stuff. Just drop it. It's all garbage, kind of like whipped cream. You whip your mind up and you make all this whipped cream kind of pile up, and yeah, and then you suffocate under it. I don't like whipped cream, so to me, having too much whipped cream on my, Okay, so the next section is when our spiritual mentors pass away. So this is a very difficult situation, yeah. So because our spiritual mentors are valuable in our lives and dear to us, when a spiritual mentor passes away, we will probably feel a great loss. When Dromdonpa was dying, he lay his head in the lap of one of his close disciples, the great scholar Potawa. Saddened by the fact that his teacher was leaving, Potawa was crying, and a tear fell on Dromdonpa. Drom looked up and asked, "Why are you crying?" Potawa responded, "Up until now, I've had you as my guru, So there was always someone I could ask questions and seek counsel and guidance from. But now you are leaving, and I will have no one to clarify points of doubt and guide me on how to practice. Dromdompa counseled Potawa, you do not need many gurus. From now on, seek your guru in the Tripitaka, the 3 baskets of scriptures. The sutras, tantras, treatises, and commentaries by the great sages will be your teacher and spiritual guide. Rely on them, because I would give you no advice different from that of the Buddha and the great masters. This advice is important for us to bear in mind. One of my teachers gave me the exact same advice once. It wasn't in a situation where he was dying or any of my other teachers were dying, but we were just somewhere in a room with a lot of scriptures, and he pointed to them and he said, when your teachers pass away, these are your gurus. It is beneficial to repeatedly make aspirational prayers to meet qualified Mahayana spiritual mentors in the future, and to accumulate merit and wisdom, which are the causes to be cared for by such mentors, until we reach full awakening. Also, I think when our spiritual mentors pass away, that's the time when we have to step up to the plate. Until that time, we rely on them. Whenever there's a great difficulty or somebody asks us advice and we don't know what to do, we turn to our spiritual mentors. When they're no longer there, then it's up to us to help sentient beings. Yeah. And so we have to step up to the plate and do the work that they were doing to the best of our own ability. Okay? Even though we may not be exactly like them or have all the qualities, we do the best we can. I really saw this exemplified so clearly. Of course, I was relatively new to the Dharma then, so but it made an impression on me, and over the years I've appreciated this more and more. When one of my teachers, Geshe Nawandarge, was a disciple not only of His Holiness, but of Kyabje Ling Rinpoche and Kyabje Trichung Rinpoche, His Holiness's two tutors. And in 1981, was it, or maybe 1980, Trichung Rinpoche was living in Dharamsala, and he passed away. And, because he was such a highly respected Lama, there were just floods of his disciples, of monks and nuns, coming down the hill, going to his room right before he died to pay their last respects and so on. And the afternoon that he died, before that, in that whole time period, Geshe Nawandarge had been teaching a small group of us in his room, the Arya Devas, the 400. And you would think on that afternoon when his own teacher died and when the whole community around was in grief, you would think that he would have counseled the teachings. He didn't. We had the teachings, and Geshe-la was shining. It was like, it was like he was embodying everything his own teacher had given him, and he was passing it on to us. And so you could see so clearly that, of course Geshe-la was mourning for his teacher, but he was stepping up and doing what Trichung Rinpoche would have wanted him to do, which is benefit sentient beings by sharing the Dharma. Yeah? And so he taught that whole afternoon. was amazing. Yeah. That evening I went up to Shida, and Lama Yeshe, they were also having a puja for Chichen Rinpoche because he was the guru of Lama Yeshe and Zopa Rinpoche. And Lama was just sobbing, totally sobbing, because he had lost his teacher. But I saw, both of them were showing me something, were teaching me something, So it wasn't like Lama was doing it wrong because he was crying. That wasn't it, He was showing, at least what I got from it was how precious our spiritual mentors are to us, and to how fortunate we are to have the connection that we have when we have really qualified teachers. So, seeing two different faces of how to respond when your teacher dies within a space of hours was quite powerful. Okay, now the last section is advice to spiritual mentors and disciples. This was, here is some things. I edited it a bit to His Holiness, to calm it a little bit, because His Holiness, you'll see he's quite frank in here, but he was even more frank when he spoke directly. This was when he was giving the Yamantaka empowerment and teachings in Australia some years back. I can't remember, maybe 5 years ago or something. Anyway, at the end, because there were some other lamas who were taking the teachings there, then he turned to them and he gave some very specific advice. Well, to them and, of course, to the whole crowd. We heard it. So he said, years ago, I heard about an abbot in Kham, Tibet. Some visitors came to see him. He was not there, and his attendant told the visitors, he has gone to scare the people in the nearby town. It seems that this Lama told people they would go to hell if they didn't heed his instructions. And you hear this in the teachings, It's not so unusual that, follow, see everything your teacher does is perfect, otherwise, okay. And so His Holiness said, this is not the Buddhist way. I would like to speak frankly to both spiritual mentors and Dharma students. From 2012 to 2015, I taught the 18 Lamrim texts. Some of these texts emphasize that the Guru is Vajradhara, and if you don't listen to your Guru's instructions, you will be born as a hell being. What is this all about? The Buddha never said if you don't listen to his teachings and don't do as he says, you will be born in hell. The Buddha said we should not accept teachings with blind faith, but through having investigated and analyzed them. This is the true way to follow the Buddha's teachings. If something doesn't hold up to reasoning, we should not accept it unless it can legitimately be interpreted to mean otherwise. For this reason, even some Nalanda masters rejected statements in the sutras. After examination, I eschewed the traditional cosmology with Mount Meru at the center and the flat universe around. Okay, what we offer when we do the mandala offering, yeah. His Holiness realized that's not true. When I said this during teachings in South India, some monks were initially uncomfortable. How can the Dalai Lama reject Mount Meru? But no one could say I was no longer a good Buddhist because I disagreed with Vasubandhu on that topic. Our having freedom to examine the teachings is wonderful. This is a special quality of Buddhism that the Buddha himself encouraged. Nowadays, we need to introduce people to the Dharma by teaching the two truths and the four truths of Aryas, so that people will understand the real teachings of the Buddha. Contemplating these topics give people confidence. They will understand the Dharma and appreciate their precious human lives. So this is exactly what His Holiness does, especially when he teaches in the West. And it's how Volume 1 started out, how Volume 2 started out. Okay? With faith based on reasoning and understanding, they can later learn the 10 powers of a Buddha based on understanding the Tathagarbha, the potential to become a Buddha. Otherwise, it seems that the teacher is imposing beliefs on disciples and threatening them with a hellish rebirth should they have doubts. It also appears that some teachers impose the notion that the Guru is the Buddha on disciples who do not understand the true Dharma, and in this way manipulate disciples. If you study well, you will gain confidence in the Dharma based on understanding. A teacher who encourages you to think about the teachings is a good teacher. People who want to teach the Dharma must have knowledge and experience and act with integrity. The more respect a spiritual mentor receives, the humbler he or she should become. Mentors must discipline their body, speech, and mind by practicing the 3 higher trainings and should not be content with a partial understanding of the Dharma. Since there are false gurus, students must check carefully. In short, we need to be 21st century Buddhists. Following tradition and believing with blind faith is the old way. To be Buddhists now, we must have a fuller knowledge of Buddhism, especially the Nalanda tradition, which presents the Dharma in a systematic fashion. Nalanda masters refute wrong views, establish their own views, and then clarify any remaining questions. We must read, study, and hear teachings on the text by these great Indian masters, and then use our human intelligence to the maximum to investigate their meaning. For 40 years now, I have urged monasteries that principally perform rituals to do more study. I've made sure that the nuns have access to higher studies and have encouraged lay Buddhists to study as well. When you learn the Dharma, don't limit yourself to what is said in the textbooks of your own monastery. Study broadly. I remember sitting there when His Holiness was doing this, and the lamas were on his left side, looking to them, It's like, okay, this is a strong message, remember it. Okay, so that's very good closing words for the whole thing. And for us to remember, we may not be spiritual mentors now, but if we start leading meditations, leading discussions, giving talks, whatever, like His Holiness said, the more we do that, the humbler and humbler we should get. Yeah, not the more. Yeah. Okay, so the next chapter is how to structure a meditation session. On the left-hand side, that statue is of Tara, the liberator. Tara's speciality is eliminating obstacles. Okay? And so she's very good at that. I noticed the other night that that you were doing the the one with the clapping, and I was very puzzled you know, because that is usually done in big teachings. You do the Heart Sutra, and then you do that to eliminate obstacles for the teaching. So I was puzzled why you were doing it that evening. Venerable Losang was there, and he said that people were doing it for the smelter. Yeah. Ling Rinpoche, advised to chant the Heart Sutra for the smelter. But that is not part of the Heart Sutra. Okay? And that's usually done in the context of eliminating hindrances to the teachings. So I think if you want to do more to eliminate it for the situation of the smelter, Tara's mantra is very good, because that's her speciality, to dispel interferences and hindrances. Okay, so how to structure a meditation session. So first section here is types of meditation. So this chapter follows upon relying upon a spiritual mentor, because, after you rely on a spiritual mentor, then you should actually start your meditation practice before you choose your spiritual mentors. But, here's where you're really getting into it. I almost put the chapters about the spiritual mentors at the end of the book, because if you understand the Dharma, then explaining the value of having a spiritual mentor and how to rely on our spiritual mentors makes total sense. If you understand the Dharma, then there's not much difficulty taking that teaching in. Okay? So that's why I thought, we can put it at the end of the long run. But then, with everything that was going on, I thought, no, people need to know this sooner rather than later. So let's put it now, then they can learn, and then as they study the Dharma, they can come back and read the chapter again, and then, it will make much more sense. Okay. Anyway, how to structure a meditation session. So this chapter is giving us instructions on how to contemplate. This is volume 2. The rest of volume 2, volume 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and there may be 10 volumes. Okay? So this chapter is quite important because it's really introducing us to how to contemplate all the rest of the teachings. Okay? Of course, it introduces us to different kinds of meditation, but especially the checking meditation, although not all the meditations in the long run are checking or analytical meditations, as we'll see. Okay? So, first, introduce types of meditation. So, our happiness and suffering is directly related to the objects our mind focuses on and our thoughts and interpretations of them. Isn't that true? Yeah. What we turn our mind to, what we think about, influences our happiness and suffering in so many ways. I mean, immediately it influences us. If we're ruminating about past things that hurt us, what kind of mood do we have? If we concentrate on the kindness of others, what kind of mood are we in? So right then and there we see how much what we focus on influences our happiness and suffering. And it influences our happiness and suffering too, because when we focus on certain objects that lead us to get angry or to have a lot of desire and clinging, then we create karma that, destructive karma that will result in miserable experiences. When we focus on the good qualities of other sentient beings, on the qualities of the 3 jewels, on generating aspiration to generate bodhicitta and so on, then we create so much merit which will bring happy results. So what's going on in our mind right now not only influences our happiness and suffering now, but our happiness and suffering for a long time to come. Yeah. So that's really worth remembering when our mind is going south. You know, when we're starting to get very negative and discouraged and angry and resentful, to stop and ask ourselves, what good is this way of thinking doing for me? Yeah. When we're in the middle of our pity party, yeah, to stop and say, what good is this doing now and for the future? You know, what am I doing to myself, allowing my mind to get stuck in all of this? There we go. But it's true. It's true. I just want some sympathy. So give yourself some sympathy. Yeah? We can give ourselves empathy and sympathy. You know? We don't need the whole world to feel sorry for us. Yeah? We can give ourselves some empathy. We know that person who got hurt. We can give them some empathy. Yeah. But don't you kind of want to be like the press who's saying, I'm the greatest, but nobody appreciates me. It's all fake news. It's all a scam. It's a witch hunt. The world is out to get me. Yeah? I mean, what good does that way of talking and thinking do? Yeah. He's a big teacher. He's a big teacher. Okay. Our happiness and suffering is directly related to the objects our mind focuses on and our thoughts and interpretations of those objects. A mind habituated to focusing on our own or others' faults, exaggerating them, and angrily complaining about them is an unhappy mind. Even if it's true, thinking like that makes us very unhappy. A mind steeped in seeing others' kindness, appreciating it, and wishing them happiness is a peaceful mind. And that's true too, isn't it? Even if the whole world doesn't wish you well, seeing their kindness makes your mind peaceful. Yeah? Mental purification is needed to release destructive mental habits and cultivate beneficial ones. Transformation occurs through familiarizing ourselves with wholesome objects and beneficial perspectives. Okay? So you might be puzzled that previous one, a mind steeped in seeing others' kindness, appreciating it, and wishing them happiness is a peaceful mind. Even if they aren't, totally on your side. So you may say, what? How can that be true? And it makes me think of how the Tibetans that I've spoken who have been imprisoned in the Chinese communist prisons, how they practiced. Yeah. And they practiced seeing the kindness of the people around them. Even though the people around them, the guards, were in many cases torturing them or starving them or whatever. Yeah. But when you can focus on kindness, even in difficult situations, then you appreciate even the little bit that you have. Familiarization occurs in both formal meditation sessions and in the time between sessions when we go about our daily life activities. Because our unsatisfactory experiences in cyclic existence have no break, neither should our efforts to transform our mind and free it from afflictions. As long as we are under the influence of ignorance and karma, it is necessary to make continuous effort on the path and to discipline and transform our minds in both meditation sessions and breaks at times. So sometimes, we practice very hard and then we think, oh, I practice so hard. Now, okay, I can go out and have a drink. I can go out and drink, eat a whole chocolate cake. I can go out to the movies. I can, go dancing. I can, hook up with somebody. You think, oh, I created my virtue. Now I can relax and do this other stuff. And what His Holiness is saying, there's no break in samsara, so there shouldn't be a break in our Dharma practice either. So if there's no break in samsara, there shouldn't be a break in our trying to accumulate virtue. We should try as much as we can to keep our minds in a virtuous state. That doesn't mean that you always have to sit there studying with a book and, you get tired and you need to go for a walk, you need to relax and do other things. But when you relax, keep your mind virtuous when you relax. Okay, don't go do something non-virtuous. I heard one of my teachers say once that Dharma students are like puppies. You help them get clean and then they go outside and roll in the mud. And that's what we do, We do some practice and then we go out and do some non-virtue to celebrate. Yeah. There are several ways of speaking about the various types of meditation. So one way is in terms of stabilizing and analytical meditation. Stabilizing meditation channels the energy of the mind and generates single-pointedness. It enables the mind to remain on a virtuous object, such as the Buddha, or a neutral object, such as the breath, for as long as we wish, without distraction or laxity, and it enhances our concentration or samadhi. Concentration brings many benefits. It enables us to investigate objects such as impermanence and emptiness intensely, and to familiarize ourselves with virtuous emotions such as love and compassion without distraction. Okay, so stabilizing meditation is more on the side of cultivating serenity or shamatha, okay, developing the ability to concentrate one-pointedly on a virtuous or a neutral object. Yeah, if you have one-pointed concentration on a non-virtuous object, then look out. Okay, then so in that way to divide meditation, there's stabilizing meditation and analytical meditation. So analytical meditation enables us to penetrate and understand an object. Meditation on emptiness cannot be done unless we understand what emptiness is and can identify it correctly. So just sitting there saying, I'm going to focus on emptiness, when we don't know what emptiness means, then that's not going to bring an understanding of the ultimate nature of reality. Because what happens is we will invent our own meaning of emptiness. And you see that in the past, many people erroneously did that and thought that emptiness meant just blank-mindedness, stopping all thoughts. And that the purpose of meditation is just to stop your thoughts. That is not emptiness. Okay, that is not emptiness. We need to stop all the ruminating thoughts. because those just take us off into Never Land. Okay? But that's not emptiness. We have to understand what the ultimate nature is so that we can focus on it properly. Yeah. It's not something we see with our eyes. It's not something that our mind automatically has a glimmer of or knows. It's something that it's a slightly hidden phenomena. And if you remember the early part of this book, to realize slightly hidden phenomena, to realize them, we need to do it first through an inferential valid cognizer, and then wear away the conceptual appearance to get a direct perception of emptiness. But we need to start with the inference. Okay. Otherwise, we think emptiness. Oh, I just don't think about anything. Yeah. Is that wisdom, not thinking about anything? Or emptiness? My stomach is empty. Yeah. My wallet is empty. My bank account is empty. The refrigerator is empty. Yeah. And you concentrate on that kind of emptiness. Yeah. Is that going to lead you to wisdom of how phenomena exist? In the pujas, when it says all is empty, yeah, refrigerator, bank account. Yeah, you're right. Everything is empty. Okay. So meditation on emptiness cannot be done unless we understand what emptiness is and can identify it correctly. Reasoning is necessary before we can progress to direct non-conceptual perception. Analytical meditation is also used on other Lamrim topics: precious human life, death, the qualities of the three jewels, and so forth. Here we contemplate the various points the Buddha and the great masters have employed to explain these topics. Reflecting on the points one by one can bring deep, transformative understanding. So all of the reflections that we've encountered in the book, most of these are analytical meditations. Yeah, ways for you to think about the teachings. And thinking about them, it can really help you understand the meaning and can have a very strong impact on the mind. Yeah, like what we were just, the beginning of this chapter, that our happiness and suffering depends on the objects we focus on, and therefore the ways we interpret them, and therefore whatever mental states arise. Just if we sat and could contemplate that and could make a lot of examples from our life and have a really deep understanding of that, imagine how your life would change. Yeah? If you really understood that very deeply from your own experience. Both stabilizing and analytical meditation can be done in one meditation session. For example, we reflect on the qualities of our precious human life with analytical meditation. Understanding the purpose and rarity of our precious human life, we automatically feel extremely fortunate, like a beggar who has found a jewel. Or somebody, like a kid, going in Toys R Us with somebody else's credit card. You are beyond delighted. We then concentrate on that feeling with stabilizing meditations to integrate the experience with our mind. This enables us to remember the preciousness of our life in the break times and influences the choices we make in life. Similarly, analytical meditation is employed to refute inherent existence and leads to a correct understanding of emptiness. We then focus on this absence of inherent existence with stabilizing meditation to accustom our mind to it. Okay? So in many of the long-run meditations, we start out with analytical meditation, going through them point by point. Yeah? This brings some kind of understanding, and it can bring an emotional feeling as well. And then we focus on that conclusion. We apply stabilizing meditation at that point to really familiarize our mind with that conclusion and with the feeling that conclusion brings in our mind. Okay? So as we'll see later in the book, for example, contemplating death. There's a 9-point death meditation, where you meditate on 9 points, you come to a conclusion, and then you focus on them. And that can have a very powerful effect on our mind, especially when we arise from the cushion and we go about our daily life and we have to figure out what to do and what not to do and make decisions and prioritize things. An understanding of our own mortality is extremely helpful in doing that. Because it helps us quickly see, what is important to do in this life to prepare for future lives and to create the cause for liberation and awakening. You begin to be able to see that clearly, and then we look at what we ordinarily do in life and how we waste so much time, and we begin to say, why am I doing that? It just doesn't make so much sense. Okay? So it can have a very powerful effect on how we live our life and what we do. Okay? You're ready to get mad, you're starting to get mad at somebody, and then you think, the time of death is indefinite. Would I want to die with this state of mind that's getting mad at somebody? Yeah? Do you want to die being mad at somebody? Yeah. If you don't, this is, and you say to yourself, well, if I don't want to die with anger in my mind, and I don't know when I'm going to die, then why am I letting anger take over my mind right now? Doesn't make much sense. Okay? So it helps you to drop it. And you drop it not by stuffing it. Stuff all my anger in here. So actually a good Buddhist, I don't get angry. Yes, I am so sweet. I am a good Buddhist. Meanwhile, inside here, it's like, what do you call that? A black hole of anger. Okay? No, we're not trying to stuff our anger, That's not going to do any good. But you just see, you just say to yourself sometimes, why am I making such a big deal about this? Well, why am I making such a big deal? And then you listen to the reasons your mind gives for why you're making such a big deal. And then you say, are any of those minds benefiting me? Are any of those minds helping me to cultivate compassion? Are any of those minds realistic? Or are they all exaggerated? Well, all those reasons I have for getting mad, they all revolve around me. don't they? Yeah, they all revolve around me in one way or another. Is that being broad-minded? Or is that being a little bit limited? Well, there's almost 8 billion human beings on the planet. We're getting up there. And I'm really focused on one of them, who's me. So is that really important? Yeah. And then you kind of have to say no. Then you go, darn it. I wanted to have a good argument for why I'm right and they're wrong, why they should feel sorry for me, why they should listen to me. And I lost the argument. With who was I arguing against? My wisdom mind. Yeah. Good if I let my wisdom mind win. Not so good if I let my afflicted mind win. Okay. So, the analytic meditation, where you're really searching and wondering and questioning, can have a very strong effect on your mind. And then you focus on that experience. Like in what I just gave as an example, you focus on the experience of this doesn't matter, and you just let it go. And you just feel what it feels like to let that anger and resentment go. It's like, that feels good. I should do that more. Okay. Another way of discussing meditation is meditation. So this stabilizing and analytical meditation is one way to discuss meditation. Now we're going to another way. Okay. Is meditation on an object and meditation to transform our subjective experience. So in meditation on an object, we work to apprehend a particular object, for example, impermanence or emptiness. Okay. We want to apprehend a particular object that we haven't previously apprehended. It could be our precious human life that we're trying to apprehend. It could be our own mortality. It could be what is important at death. We're trying to apprehend these different things. Investigating that object with wisdom, we cultivate a correct ascertainment of it and then familiarize ourselves with that. The mind meditating on impermanence first focuses on a particular thing, such as the body, and then develops an understanding of its attribute of impermanence, the body's momentary changing nature, which we haven't previously realized. So we can apprehend the body easily, but the subtle impermanence of the body, we don't apprehend easily. Okay, so we have to think about it, and understand it, and then come to some kind of apprehension. The meditating mind realizes the body's impermanence, and then impermanence becomes that mind's apprehended object. So you start out with the body, and then you go to the impermanence of the body. Meditation on emptiness is similar. Emptiness is an object we haven't perceived previously, and the meditating mind endeavors to understand and then see it more clearly. First, we obtain a rough idea of the lack of inherent existence. Then we apprehend it with a correct inferential cognizer. Finally, we remove the veil of the conceptual appearance and cognize emptiness directly. Okay? So that's meditation on an object. In meditation to transform our subjective experience, we mold the mind into a particular subjective experience. So, for example, when we're trying to generate compassion, compassion is not a separate object that we try and ascertain, such as in meditating on an object. So, when we're trying to meditate on emptiness, we're trying to figure out what emptiness is. We may need to do a little bit of reflection on what exactly compassion is, but, that itself isn't going to make us feel compassionate. That will help us understand what compassion is, okay? So it's not like compassion is out there and we're trying to understand it, yeah? Rather, we want to transform our minds into the subjective experience of compassion, okay? So it's not like compassion's out there and, I'm trying to see it. Although all the teachings beforehand that are explaining what compassion is and what compassion isn't, that's very helpful to us to give us an idea of what this subjective mental state called compassion is. Okay, but then to actually generate the compassion, we think about the kindness of others, we see them in beauty, we think about their suffering, and so on. Okay? So to do this, we contemplate sentient beings' kindness and their dukkha, their unsatisfactory experiences. Because we have to, we contemplate their kindness so that we can generate another mind, which is called Liang Champa. Heartwarming love. Okay? It's heartwarming love. It's learning to see others in beauty. Okay? So we want to have a mind that sees other living beings. It's also translated as affectionate love. So there's different translations. One is heartwarming love, another is affectionate love. We want to see them with some kind of affection, some kind of where they make our heart warm, where we have a heartwarming feeling. Okay, so it's not, we're not mad at them, we're not picking faults and so on. Yeah. So one way to do that is by thinking about their kindness towards us. Because whenever we think about sentient beings' kindness, then, we have a heartwarming feeling towards them. Okay, so a wish for them to be free from dukkha and its causes arises in us, okay, when we contemplate their kindness and their dukkha, whereby our subjective mental experience becomes compassion. Okay, so how we feel inside, the object we're looking at is sentient beings, but the subjective experience inside is one of compassion that wishes them to be free from dukkha. Through familiarization with this experience over time, our compassion gains in strength until eventually it arises naturally whenever we see a sentient being. Wouldn't that be nice? Every time you saw a sentient being, this feeling of, I want to remove their suffering because they're such a lovable sentient being. Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, even you see a spider or a cockroach, or someone you couldn't stand, that feeling arose in your heart. That would be quite something, huh? To cultivate faith, fortitude, and love, we similarly meditate to transform our subjective experience. When meditating on compassion, the observed object of our meditation is sentient beings who experience any of the three types of dukkha. The aspect is the wish to free them from this dukkha. Compassion does not apprehend freedom from suffering. It is an aspiration and a heart-transforming experience. Another type, now we're moving on to another type of meditation. So this involves visualization. For example, imagining a Buddhist deity and its the mandala, or environment around that deity. Imagining being and acting like a Buddha encourages us to create the causes to become one. Okay? So visualization is a very powerful thing in our meditation. Some people, not all types of Buddhism use visualization. And so some people say, why are you visualizing? You're just adding more mental clutter. Yeah? Like if you meditate on the breath, you just remove all that clutter. If you visualize, you have this and that, and it's going all over the place. And, it's just more and more conceptualization. Okay? So that's, some people say that. So our mind visualization is kind of like, what's it called in martial arts, where you use the energy of the opponent, you transform it to get it to something good. I don't know what it's called. None of you are martial arts people. Anyway, so what you're using is the mind has this natural tendency to conceptualize all the time. Okay. What we're doing with visualization is we're taking that tendency, an afflicted tendency to conceptualize, and we're flipping it so that now we're thinking of Buddhas and Buddha realms. Okay. When you think of Buddhas and Buddha realms, what does that do to your mind? Yeah, it uplifts your mind, doesn't it? Yeah. So the visualization is taking the natural tendency to conceptualize and flipping it and using it for a positive goal. Okay? Similarly, some people may say, why do you recite mantra? Your mind is chattering so much anyway, always saying this. Now you're reciting mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, Mani Padme Hum. I hate that guy, Om Mani Padme Hum. It's the same thing. Why are you saying mantra? Okay? So, it's for the same reason, because our mind has this tendency to chatter and say rubbish. But now we're using it to say Om Mani Padme Hum, or Namo Kansi Pusa, or Namo Amitofo, or Om Marapatha Nadi. That same tendency for the mind to chatter, we're flipping and using it to do something constructive. Okay? So, this is another type of meditation. And the visualization that you're using can act as your object of serenity. And the sound of the mantra can help settle your mind too and calm the mind. Meditation sessions enable you to deepen your understanding and intensify your concentration on the meditation object. In the break times, when eating, walking, or engaging in daily life activities, do not forget the meditation topics. With a corner of your mind, recall what you have meditated on. You may wish to choose one Lamrim topic each day. Meditate on it in the morning, and view your experiences that day through the lens of that topic. So one day, dwell on precious human life. Investigate it during meditation sessions and be aware of your fortune and opportunity it provides during the day. The next day, focus on death and impermanence, and as you go about your daily activities, recall that you and the people and environment around you are transient. In this way, avoid becoming attached to anything. The following day, focus on refuge, or karma, or one of the four truths, and so on, cycling through the Lamrim topics. In this way, integrate the meaning of each Lamrim topic into your life day by day, okay? Both in your meditation sessions and in the break time, by familiarizing yourself with it. You may prefer to focus on one Lamrim topic for a week or even a month before going on to the next. This enables you to go more deeply into each one. Alternatively, focus on the topic that seems most appropriate to help you subdue your afflictions likely to arise that day, tailoring your practice to your needs each day. So if you know you're going to see somebody where your buttons usually get pushed, meditate on fortitude in the morning, okay? Regularly reading texts about your meditation topic and discussing it with Dharma friends are also helpful. This is like keeping the fire's embers glowing overnight so that the fire is easy to start the next morning. Similarly, cultivating mindfulness of a Lamrim topic during break times invigorates and intensifies our meditation session and aids our mental development. Okay? So what you do in the break times is very important. If you can keep remembering what you meditated on in the morning, then when you sit down to meditate again, much easier to take that topic and deepen your understanding of it. In this way, gradually develop your mind. I often advise my friends, including those doing long retreats, not to expect spiritual development to occur in only a few days. Oh, okay. The other one still fits, yeah. To occur in a few days or a few years. The key is to make effort daily so that over time gradual change occurs. We progress towards our long-term goal of Buddhahood day by day. Okay, so the reflection. Review the meaning of meditation on an object and meditation to transform our subjective experience. Make examples of each. Okay? And then review the meaning of stabilizing and analytical meditation. Make examples of how you could employ those in your practice. Okay, so we have a few minutes for questions and maybe answers.
I just have a comment on a visual I got when we were talking about the analytical and stabilizing meditation, and that it's kind of like making a sandwich, like to start with some stabilizing meditation, having some analytical meditation in the middle, and then like ending with the stabilizing meditation again.
Yeah, you could do like that. Uh-huh.
I have a question about faith as an object of the subjective meditation. I never thought about faith that way before. I mean, love, compassion, yes, but so in thinking about that, you use the analysis, I would think, to get to the different objects of faith, the three different kinds. But then, in your experience, are they actually different feelings, those three different kinds of faith, or is it always about the object?
You're focusing not on the three kinds of faith,
Yeah.
because those are the experiences
Yeah.
you want to have.
Yeah.
You're focusing on the qualities of the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha. So you meditate on the qualities of the Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, and then that will generate the the three different kinds of faith.
Right.
So it's like compassion. You're not meditating on compassion out there. You're not meditating. Okay, here's what the second one's aspiring, third one's convictional, first one admiring. Okay, so it's not like you're admiring on you're meditating on admiring faith out there. You're meditating on the qualities of the three jewels. Through that arises your subjective experience of admiring faith. Okay? Or you meditate on the qualities of the Dharma, the true cessations, true paths, and then your subjective experience is aspiring faith. I aspire to gain those qualities. Okay? And so faith is, it's faith, trust, confidence, a mixture of all three. And it brings a very strong feeling. Yeah, when you have that.
Is there a way to use the meditation on developing a subjective experience to somehow overcome like non-virtuous states? Like instead of doing a virtuous meditation like on faith or love, using it to somehow maybe overcome hostility or another negative mind state?
Oh yeah, like if you're sitting there and you're really thinking, gee, I feel so crummy and all my friends have deserted me and nobody's paying attention to me and I'm so depressed, then if you switch and you start thinking about the kindness of sentient beings, throughout your whole life, and the fact when you were born you couldn't take care of yourself and you're alive today simply because other beings took care of you, then you meditate on, you think about their kindness, and then your mind, your attitude towards sentient being changes. You realize, oh, actually I've been the recipient of tremendous kindness in my life. And then you can look at those sentient beings with affection, and clearly, your bad mood and critical mind of them has gone away. That making some sense? Yeah.
I found I'm needing to get some refinement on the word aspiring, because my normal way of aspiring is to want to grasp at something and then get frustrated because I can't have it or don't know how to do it. And so I'm seeing that I associate aspiring with, well,
No.
why try? You're not going to get what you want anyway, kind of.
No.
It's weird.
Aspiring is more like a hopeful state of wishing, but not just hopeful wishing. It's knowing you can do something, but it's knowledge you can do it, but doing it depends on creating causes and conditions. So aspiring, you're meditating on demanding. I want this. Give it to me. Okay. Aspiring. And so, of course, you get frustrated. Yeah. But if we if we cultivate a mind aspiring, then we're directing our mind in a good way. And we know we have to create the causes to get there. Okay. So then you don't get frustrated. Don't worry, you're not the only one.